Today is March 2nd. That's right. It's March. The regular season starts this month. Let's talk about the first full week of spring training and talk about the Bucs changing it up a little bit this week. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. His name is Jake. How we doing, Jake?
I'm fine. We're good.
All right. It's a loaded statement, guys. You already know it.
There's a lot. Dealing with dog issues on my end, so my wife's worse off than I am, but yeah. Getting through it.
I'm sure that we have some folks that can relate.
Yeah.
So, Cheryl, did you see that? Cheryl's still down in Florida. I think
Nice.
I think we crossed. I think we were at the same game. She's still down there. I'm out, but there you go. Pit City what? I've seen enough. Connor opening day. Connor, Pit City what? He was reassigned to minor league camp today.
Bro is 18 years old.
That's not going to happen. But, I mean, we might as well. So we're going to talk about the changeup. We're going to talk about basically what we've seen so far. You can't get through a show right now without talking about first base. It is absolutely the top of the chain, right? Yeah. Of what we need to see. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. But let's talk Connor Griffin for a second. We may as well. It was brought up.
Dude, man. He's a dude.
Yeah.
Looks like a grown man. He's 18 years old.
I mean, the home run going the other way with the pitch, just going with it. That's it's what you want to see, right?
Yeah.
It's what you want to see.
My only thought process is I understand to a point, but I don't understand why we're not just putting him at shortstop.
He's don't been have in there, anyone right?
in our. He's mostly been playing center field, and we needed a shortstop. Like, what's the last shortstop that we've had on this team that is like you could put a good shortstop beside their, like a solid shortstop by their name? Is it Jack Wilson?
No. I mean, Jordy was
okay.
Yeah, you said solid, so I mean, you know what I mean.
I'm thinking like above average, above average shortstop.
All right.
So a shortstop on our team that would play shortstop for other teams that weren't in the bottom of the league,
which means they have to have the offensive side of things going too,
or
right?
Elite enough. Like Jack Wilson, I would put in that category. He hit well enough with that elite defense.
Yeah,
that he would play for anybody. He could have been a shortstop on any team.
Yeah.
He might be the last shortstop that we had that you can say that about.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some guys that could play short, but it's the offensive side, though. You know what I mean? But we've had some guys, they can't hit, so they can't stay out there. You know, Alika's supposed to be one of those guys, even if you want to go uber recent, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, I mean, like, I don't know. Timelines sometimes can erase me here, but, like, Ronnie Cedeno, wasn't he like a good shortstop?
But he couldn't stay in the major leagues but that's what I'm saying though.
Right.
Like,
so they hit enough.
You don't have to be an awesome offense, but hit enough.
Good enough. Yeah.
That you can say, yes, you could slot him on shortstop on 30 different teams.
Okay. So let's, cut to the chase here. What about Connor as far as that kind of a question, though? Has he already shown you that he's that kind of a shortstop? Has he played short in a game yet?
I don't think so. I don't know that for sure, but
I thought he did.
For me, it's the bat for him. You know what I mean? And he's athletic enough. I'm sure he can handle it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to hit like that, so very small sample size, but if he can expand on what he's already shown a little bit of at the plate,
Yeah.
and you can play a good shortstop, then that's a shortstop. That's a shortstop you can put on most teams.
Yeah. It doesn't have him like it has him listed as center field. It doesn't show. It looks like, yeah, it's center field. 4 games. Yeah. So he's only played center. Dave says IKF shouldn't be a starting shortstop. Yeah, I mean, I think we're on that page, right?
Yeah.
Pitt City, what? Alika and Peggy ain't looking good at all. Dude, Peggy was one of the guys that we talked about bringing up on this show. So maybe we'll sit on that comment for just a minute because we probably will. Here you go, Honus Wagner. Honus is the last one. We didn't say one of the greatest ever.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that feels right. But yeah, he hasn't played short. So from what I understand of it, is that he is a good shortstop, but he's so comfortable in the outfield that he can also play out there.
Yeah.
Just missed a diving play today. It's like when he landed, the ball came out of his glove. And so, yeah, I mean, I think maybe just throwing him out there. The thing is like, we'll still see him in games, I think. He's going to minor league camp because that's where he should be. Minor league camp started. We talked about this the other day, that they were going to be coming this weekend for minor league camp. Remember, I said I was going to miss a lot of that because this weekend. So like, this was a foregone conclusion. We're inviting you so you can get down here. We can get some early looks at you. But then, and I'm this way too. I want him to have a full minor league camp.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be at the major league level right now. And that's even just saying like, let's get him started with all the other guys that he's going to be playing with. And they'll still get him over and get him into games. They always do, right?
Yeah.
But as far as camp, he should be over there. And I think that's unsurprising, right? Along with the rest of them. What was the list? Solomito, Connor Griffin, Termar Johnson, Jack Brannigan, all of those guys. And I mean, we'll see a ton of Jack Brannigan still. We always do. Who made a nice play at third base today, by the way.
Nice.
But just there. But yeah, I mean, Connor looks like he's got all of it. I mean, he doesn't look like when Termar started playing, it was like, all right, let's see this guy. And he looked like he was a young guy. You know what I mean? This is, and that's not his fault, right? I mean, he's a shorter guy. He is what he is. This dude just already looks like he's in the show.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare like Termar and him and Connor, you're looking at Termar come in, a lot of moving parts, a lot of amateur type holes in the swing, a lot of things he's going to need to work on before he can keep progressing. Not that the wow factor is still not there, because it was. I mean, it is. Termar, I think he's going to be really good.
Well, and just to say, like, because now we've seen progression in those areas too.
Yes.
Like you're just talking about the first look at him.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Continue. Just wanted to
and then you look over at Connor Griffin and dude looks like he's got a simple swing. You go with the pitch and just hit a bomb to right center field, opposite field. Like it just looks good. And it looks good for the future. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be in center field. Please don't get me wrong. Like he could be a stud center fielder at some point. I'm just looking at the team, and no, you don't draft for holes in baseball, but sometimes if you got an athlete like that, man, if he could just get as comfortable at shortstop as he is in the outfield, he could get there. You're talking about having a really good shortstop for 5-6 years.
So how far
you can sign him?
So how far do you think he is away at this point? I mean, he's 18. He'll turn 19, I think, in April or something like that. So, essentially, he's 19 this year, and so that's 19 and 25. You got 20. I mean, he's debuting at 21. Do you think it's that fast? Like he could be
Like cup
here?
of coffee, maybe.
Yeah,
Cup of
like
coffee?
end of the season 27,
If there is one.
if there is one. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a good question here because Mailman asked, how much did the wind aid that one? He hit it
He
to
smoked
right
it.
field, and the wind that day was blowing in from right field. So he
Yeah.
hit it against the wind. Now, I don't know if it was a lot of wind, but we know spring training wind. We
Mhm.
know what it's like, right? Even if it's 4 miles an hour, it can pick up a little bit. So if it did pick up, or it may have been dead at the time and not impacted at all, but he essentially hit it into the wind, not with the wind. And so, yeah, it didn't aid it at all. If anything, it knocked it down a little,
Yeah.
which is, that's the thing about Florida. There's a lot of spring training. Like we talked about this a couple weeks ago about spring training home runs and how it's like, well, you never know because of the wind and all that stuff. I was at a game that literally I was in right field with the wind blowing in my face. It never let up, like 15 to 20 mile an hour, and nobody hit a home run that day. There was a couple balls to left field that probably didn't go out because of the wind. It pushed it towards center field, you know what I mean? And didn't go anywhere or didn't get out. But other than that, there wasn't even anything lifted to hit it out. So it still takes something to get the ball out. And, so if you hit it up and it's I wonder the Baltimore home run that O'Neal Cruz hit this weekend where he just missed it, right? And we've seen that from him before too. We've seen that from him. Like, he missed it, but his bat speed's so fast. I mean, it's number 2 in baseball last year behind Giancarlo Stanton. It's Stanton and then it's Cruz, right? So we know the bat speed is there, and sometimes you can generate some power with stuff like that. But even then, like, what was the wind doing that day? You know what I mean? Should that have been a foul ball? Did the wind blow it fair? Was there, you just don't know, right? And we don't even know. Sarasota doesn't have StatCast, so we don't know how hard it came off the bat, anything. We don't know any of that. You just, by looking at the swing and the hit, it didn't look like it was going to be a home run and it ended up going out.
Yeah.
So, the thing about Florida is when one day the wind can help you, the next day it will hurt you.
Yeah.
And it will blow, it will be impacted. There was another game after I'd gotten home that they were talking about the wind being a factor and how nothing was getting out. And somebody got one out and they were like, wow, he hit that out against the wind. And it was like, okay, all right, there's something to that. You know what I mean? It's not like Arizona where the ball just flies. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what the wind's doing. The ball flies in Arizona, which is why when you have those guys that are in some of the minor league parks over there, they always say, don't get excited. Until you see them do it somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, Florida giveth and Florida taketh away. But in that one, he hit it against the wind and it was good. No, Connor, that was a rabbit trail. Connor Griffin looks like a dude. And I think if you, Bucko Mike says he hopes he starts in Greensboro. There's a chance, but I also could see a Bradenton start for him and then a push to Greensboro early. You know what I mean? Maybe halfway through the season. And then, where do you see it go? Greensboro in 26, moving up to Altoona. And then you start in Altoona in 27, or maybe it's Greensboro, Altoona next year or this year.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts to speed up and you say, okay, well then it'll be Altoona to Indianapolis in 26. And then here you are.
If everything goes perfect too. No injuries. What I mean?
Right. So, but if he moves fast and he's clicking, I mean, this guy could be here at 21 years old, either making his debut somewhere in that season, if it's really good, or at least cup of coffee.
I mean, I'm looking at him as a shortstop and I can't help but get the image of like a young Carlos Correa. Like, like a bigger dude, a shortstop that can come up and rake. And he's an athlete, man. I guarantee you he can play a good. I don't want to say he's going to be elite, but like he could play a quality shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, it all looks good. I mean, everything there looks good as far as short. I mean, from what you see and just watching him field, he was taking ground balls one of the days we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the arm is easy cheddar across the infield. And he's just I mean, the thing is how big does that body get? And how does that impact, the position? Right now, I think they're motivated to keep him at short, but they'd be silly not to keep him in the outfield as well. I mean, you got to keep your options open.
For sure.
And Bucko Mike says Nomar with the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely exciting, and it was a lot of fun to get a look at him early.
Yeah.
Even though, albeit most of it or all of it looks like in center field. But a lot of fun. I think we'll probably see him in some games. This spring, just maybe, especially like split squad. I think we still have a couple split squad games. I'm sure he'll probably be playing in the spring breakout game or something like that. I mean, they put pretty much anybody in there, right?
Yeah.
So he'll be there. Jim Rosati. Are you talking us down a little bit, Jim? You were there. You saw him. What do you think? He is 18. I get it. We'll take all the comps we can get. It's all right to get excited about a guy like this.
Yeah.
I think
we still fairly said he's minimum 2 years away.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, that's moving. Even 2027 is moving really fast.
Yeah.
And that's when you say, like,
everything
you've
has
got
to
a
go right.
stud on your hands if he's moving that fast. So, but still, it's fun to get excited about it. Have fun in camp, in minor league camp, and, go be a dude.
Yeah.
That was fun. Thanks for bringing him up, guys, because that's worth talking about. We don't tend to talk about prospects a whole lot on this show, right? There's plenty of places you can go to find that stuff. And we go to those places too. So it was fun. This is the time to talk about stuff like that. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and bring this up real quick. Mm-hmm. Because Dave White says, I'm worried about Cruz in center field. Did he get hurt yesterday diving? I don't think he can play center field every day. I don't believe he got hurt. I know what you're talking about, though. And I remember watching that dive and thinking, man, he could afford to have some diving practice and go a little sliding, more than just landing hard on that wrist.
Yeah.
No, he's being slowly put into the lineup. He came into camp sick. It's not something to be worried about as far as like him being hurt, I wouldn't think. Now, if he is, that would be a coincidence, but they've said that they're easing him in because he came in into camp sick. And so they're slowing that down. And boy, this is a good, Mutu brings up a good point. If he's up in 2027, he's basically Jackson Holiday. Is that true? I mean, Holiday's even younger than that. Or did he come up at 21? I thought he was 20.
Yeah, I thought he was like 19. He came up quick.
Holiday?
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway.
I think he's 20 this year.
This is a really good point, though. Mutu says, and like Holiday in the seeing Holiday in the majors, maybe some patience with Griffin would be good. I totally agree. We've talked about this before. We're just, we're projecting if everything goes well, and he's progressing. I think not in a hurry, right? We talked about getting essentially a season and a half in AAA.
Yeah.
We were talking about a move to AAA halfway through the season, and then there it is. He turned 21 in December. So we were saying end of the season in his age 21 year to get a cup of coffee. And Holiday broke into the league at 20, and they tried to give him a long run. So, I see what you're saying, though. It is worth it to have some patience in this. If he's not ready, you should not be bringing him up.
No.
By all accounts, Jackson Holiday looked like he was ready, though.
Yeah.
But
let me back up a little bit.
But that's like a year and a half earlier than what we were talking about.
Right. Let me back up a little bit back to Cruz, because I did see something in the game the other day when I was rewatching because I was working. But base hit up the middle. First off, I thought Peguero probably should have had that ball. First runner goes first to third. Cruz comes up, gets ready to just unleash at third and stop. I was like, oh, yay. He made a good decision.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. Like he's making progression on reads.
Yeah, not just trying to throw everybody out every single time and then possibly throwing it away or giving guys extra bases. There's different things like that they're going to, obviously he's going to get better at. As far as the injury piece, though, I think it's just because he's been sick. I think there's nothing to worry about there. That doesn't mean that your concern necessarily is invalid, saying that you don't think he can play center field every day. Personally, I think he's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But I understand. And until you see him do it, you're probably not going to get rid of that gut feeling. You're just not going to. To be honest with you, I think a lot of us still had a little bit of that gut feeling watching him play short. I mean, you do. A guy that tall, though, is just never going to look. He's never going to look like it's all like, I don't know.
Just super smooth.
Yeah. It's not going to.
Right.
There's always going to be something that when you look at him and say that don't look right, that's because it's not. He's 6'7". You know what I mean? It doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And I think with him, I think you see that a lot. Pitt City, what? Bednar looking okay. His success is important. Yeah. I mean, so far so good. Everything looks good with him. Obviously his first outing, he had maybe a couple balls that he just put in a bad location and they got hit. If we're worried about that in his first outing in spring, we shouldn't be watching spring training games. First off, like we just get it out of your head. But no, I mean, everything looks pretty good right now. Seems like he feels good. I don't know. I've only heard good things right now. I think Bednar, he wears it pretty clearly and he's all smiles. Last year, that was not the case.
Right.
And if he was smiling, it looked uncomfortable, right? It just was like, I'm smiling right now because I'm having a good time, but I feel like I shouldn't be. You know what I mean? It's like one of those awkward, I don't see that right now. He seems comfortable. He seems like everything's looking good right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, anybody else to bring up like that is maybe a concern? I mean, Colin Holderman, I don't really know.
Yeah, I haven't no one's jumped out at me one way or the other yet.
Right.
Too much.
It's so early.
And they listen, it's not just the Pirates. A lot of games aren't even on right now.
Right.
Like there's no broadcast. I don't know if that's typical for early spring training and then they pick it up later. I'm not sure.
Bucko Mike says, Uncle Jake try out at first base, according to sources. Jake, who's your coach? Who's your first baseman right now? Let's get the elephant in the room. Wait, I told you that we will talk about first base every show. We have to say something.
Big Bat Gorski.
We still good? Hold on. I want to make sure we're still good here.
What's wrong?
Are we live still? My page stopped loading. We're still getting chats, so we're good.
Yes.
All right. We're good. My page that has like the dashboard up just was like, boom, you need to refresh. And I'm like, oh. So, okay. Seems like we never lost it. Cool. Thanks. Go ahead. Say that again.
Yeah. Matt Gorski. Get him a look. Now or never, bud. You got a month.
Yeah, if this is the way too early takes, right? This is the first full week of spring training. Yeah, I mean, may as well go with a hot take. So you may as well go with a hot take. Yeah, for me, I think it was Triolo's job to lose. Like basically, remember a couple of years ago, we went into it saying who's going to take second base and basically nobody did anything. That's how I feel about first base right now, considering it's only a month. Like you're just saying ish, right? Let's just say ish. But you got about a month as somebody that's not Horwitz, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's Triolo. And if nobody does anything to really grab it and take it, and I'm going to tell you this, Like Gorski's looking like he's pushing for it. But that requires moving parts. He's going to have to just blow you away. A buddy of mine was like, what's it going to take? I mean, if he hits, this was after his third home run the other day. Stroop that went down there to Florida with me this year, he said, I mean, if he hits 6 or 7, you got to do it. I'm like, no, it's 10. He's got to continue to do this. If he hits 10 spring home runs, I'll make the moves to get him on the roster. It just has to be overwhelming, Jake, because if the strikeout's still going to be there, like for me, in order for Gorski to crack that thing, he's got to hit 10.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, there's ways to manipulate the roster, like IL stints. Like you can get him on the roster without letting somebody go.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, I would give him a shot, but I think it's gonna take. Because he's already got 3. If he only ends with 6, that means he went another month and only hit 3 more.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
yes. here's when you're going to start knowing.
But if he's hitting the ball well and getting on base as well, if he's doing everything else well, not just hitting him. Now, if he just hits home runs and hits 10, but I mean, if he hits 6 by the end of spring and he has like a 400 OP or on base and he's batting 290, 300, like I'm giving that guy a shot.
All right. So right now he's hitting 400, but his on base is 364. Because he hasn't walked yet. He's struck out twice. He has 3 home runs and he's added a double. So right now, if it continues in this exact trend, I mean, he's got a 1.764 OPS. I mean, he's looking good, right? But if it continues this way, he's got 10 home runs. He's played in 5 games and he's hit 3 home runs. So he's going to play more. What I'm going to see is, because he's going to be able to stack. He's coming into games later. He's going to be able to stack some of these against maybe some pitchers who are coming in later in the game. Watch. If he starts getting starts, if he starts to go on the road and play those road games against home starting pitchers, you know what I mean? Like you get the guys that are pitching at home and you start getting maybe a look at their first 2 or 3 pitchers, then you start see how he's doing against those guys. And I think that's when the Pirates are actually paying attention and looking at him and saying, let's see what you do here. If they don't give him those opportunities, he's not breaking that roster without 10 home runs.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Because there's just no way of knowing.
Yeah.
There's no way of knowing.
That's why it's a too early prediction. Yeah. I mean, what did I tell you when we were prepping for the show? I said, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
We're still trying to figure that out.
Yep. And as of right now, like, I don't think there's any, I mean, there's not going to be in the first week. There's not going to be a front runner. There's not going to be a guy that's saying, well, I really like this guy there. You just don't know. Here's what we know. We know that Derek Hall's going to try, and this guy's been in the majors.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's worth it. There you go. Perfect timing. Bucko Mike. Derek Hall did blast one off a 96 mile an hour heater. Low too, which is one of the things that he's had trouble doing, right? You've got Triolo, who's already in the majors, you would assume, is going to be on the team in some way. And so that's why he's the easy button. You've seen Frazier play a little bit of first. You've seen Nick York play a little bit of first. Obviously, we talked about Matt Gorski. Billy Cook is in the running. I know we haven't seen him play first much, but they know he can play it. They're watching his at-bats. If he starts to get more time at first base, it's possible they're looking at throwing him there. I think he's got a good shot of being on. That's his ticket to get on the roster, possibly. Jack Sawinski's been on the backfields, taking ground balls at first base. Jack Sawinski's been doing ground balls. He's been doing footwork at first base, from what I understand. So a little bit of Jack saying, hey, if anything I can do,
this is open for public use.
This is, like we're going to try this. And so it's worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there is a lot there. I mean, first base is wide open, even if it's only wide open for about a month.
Yeah.
Get there. If you perform in that month, you'll stay on the team one way or another.
Yeah.
Or if not, then you'll at least be the first call.
Yeah.
If you can prove your way in there. Anytime you get on the major league roster, you're going to make a little bit more money too. So Let's understand that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. By the way, Jack is looking pretty good at the plate right now. Another hit on Saturday, couple strikeouts. I don't care. Got another hit. If he keeps hitting, that's a good sign for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. He's still very interesting. He still could be a difference maker, probably more so than a lot of players we're looking at.
Yeah.
Because of the power potential. So,
yeah, I do get a little lost in the first base battle, though. We have a lot of guys wanting a piece of that. So
I probably missed
how much time
somebody.
can we get? How much time can we get these guys? DJ Stewart, you didn't mention.
DJ Stewart, which we haven't seen that yet. He hasn't played much of first base at all.
Played much of the field yet, has he? He's been a DH.
Mostly DH, but he's been in the outfield too. But you're right, mostly DH.
But it's just you have so many guys, you're gonna have to start weeding them out sooner rather than later, so you can get the guys that are serious options more looks.
Right.
So that's the part of this whole first base thing that kind of worries me a little bit, and I'm not even that worried about it. It's going to be a month.
That's what I keep going back to it. So yeah, I get it.
But it would be nice to give somebody that shows up to spring and just like a Matt Gorski who just tears up spring training. It's nice to be rewarded for that. He's gonna know that he's got a month.
Yeah.
Ish. So
it just makes it hard. I mean, Gigamoster says it too. Like if it's more than 2 weeks, they're not bringing on an NRI guy. So
sure.
If he's not out for more than 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
Right.
But I think it's a good month. So I think there's still, I don't know. There's still a lot of chance. You know what I mean? To see the Dave White saying underwhelming. It's only been a week. I mean, we're talking about guys with 10 or less at bats. That's what we're talking about right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is just, it's such a small sample that it's ridiculous, but we have to talk about it. That's literally our spring training, is figuring out who's going to play first base. So it's not like we're going to avoid it just because it's not a big deal. Like, we have an hour to talk. We're going to talk about it. So that's basically it. But, yeah, I don't. There you go. Expected batting average on Hall's homer today, 0.050.
Well, it was, we were looking at the Savant page earlier.
Yeah.
And his and Endy's were home runs in 0 out of 30 ballparks.
Yeah.
And
so maybe
Henry Davis's was 25 out of 30.
Yeah, maybe today a little wind dated on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think good bat to ball for Endy either way, and Derek Hall. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe a little bit of the wind helping out there according to what we were looking at.
Yeah.
So, Mutu says Jack Swinsky needs to have a 30% plus K rate or else I don't want him. That sounds really funny, but I understand it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, if we want the old Jack back, we understand he's going to get behind in the count, and he's hunting down certain pitches and he'll strike out. So yeah, there's a lot here. A lot to go on. Peguero, by the way, has not looked good in any facet of the game. Now, he's only 0 for 6, but he is 0 for 6. And this is a guy who probably doesn't have a path to be on this roster out of spring training, right?
No.
I mean, unless he would have come to spring and just blown up and Nick Gonzalez would have fell flat on his face, I guess you could make a case that he could possibly break camp at second base while they let Gonzalez, get his wheels underneath him or something. But there's not really much of a path of this guy making the team. He was granted a fourth option. He's got it. It'll be used this year, and this is it for him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying much about anybody's motivation. But I wonder if there's some defeat in there, knowing that the path is is
just not there.
is not there. But in the same light, like if the path wasn't there for you, Jake, you'd try to make your own path.
Mm-hmm.
And his defense has always been at best average, and it's been a lot worse than that. And so like you're like, oh well, how can you really tell? It's not just the errors that he's made in the game. He's made a couple. It's a couple balls that he just hasn't got to that you expected him to get to. It is from what I've heard from other people, even infield, when you're watching guys field, like there was a guy that told me like of when you're watching infield before they even started playing games, like Peguero just looks like the worst fielder out there. And so a lot of errors, even before the game started, just a lot of errors.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes him a while to get going, but yeah, go ahead.
The one that bothered me was the one in the Skenes game. It's just routine play. He fields it, he takes his time, and then just throws it into the Chuck Knoblauchs it into the stands pretty much.
O'Neal cruises it into the stands.
Like, what? Come on, man. That's the throwing errors that you're not in a hurry for are just inexcusable.
Well, that we saw a lot of that from O'Neal Cruz on his way up to the majors, right? And so that's not something we're unfamiliar with.
Normal size body.
Right. And it's the other thing, it's just the fact that like he's not doing other things well either. It's not just like, oh, it's spring training, one got away from him. It feels like this is happening more often than it's not. It hasn't been a good start to the spring for Peguero. And I wonder how long he's going to last at big league camp, really. I would imagine the whole time. I would have thought the whole time. But now I'm not really sure. I'm not sure, how this is going to go, but it's got to get better than it is. We'll say that.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
I mean, is he on the roster? 40-man?
He's on the 40-man. Yeah. Oh, you're saying, will he stay there? No, I think he'll stay there. There's enough there. He's going to stay on the roster before Bay. He's going to stay on there longer than Bay. I guess it's my opinion. It's not necessarily true.
I mean, Bay's actually looked decent so far, so I'm not holding any hopes for him. I'm just saying.
Yeah. We've seen it, though. I know. They love that speed, and they
love the speed.
They're hanging on to him for that.
He's growing up a little bit as far as filling into his body. Listen, I'm not on board. I'm not. But I'm also just looking at it, and he has not looked bad.
Well, I was looking to see. I mean, did he get out and got in the game today too? So this is a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just not, man.
I'm not on board. I don't think I'm just saying what I've seen so far.
He made a catch today.
Looked terrible.
He made a catch today that going back, obviously his speed, but it was actually the first good route I've ever seen him make going after a fly ball. Maybe it was luck. Maybe he made some changes, but as a former center fielder, I can't stand to watch that guy play out there. If there were guys that could play center field that have his speed, I don't know. Yeah. They'd be winning Gold Gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got some of this. So Mutu says he's one of the guys he can stand and say, I can't stand to watch him. His routes are terrible. His jumps are bad. He makes everything up for speed and the willingness to dive. But but that's, here we go. Bay's garbage. He's a mirage. Yeah.
I'm with that. I'm with that one a lot.
Only thing saving him at the moment is his speed, not his defense. Mm-hmm. His defense is actually bad, according to that stuff. But OG says speed that never manifests as anything, still getting thrown out on the bases. Yeah, I mean, he's not a good base runner with all that speed. He's not a good route runner with all that speed. He's got potential to be good. It's Billy Hamilton, maybe. Not even as good as Billy Hamilton.
Because Billy Hamilton was really good on the bases.
Yeah. He's just fast is what I'm saying. He's just fast. But I don't know.
But yeah, it's like I said, I'm not on board. Please don't
Hey,
say that I'm on board. But
yeah, Mutu does say he didn't say I can stand him out there, just the team feels he can stand out there. I read that wrong. Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you for clarifying. He's like, don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Yeah. All right.
That's funny.
All right. You want to talk pitching, Jake? Your favorite subject?
Sure.
Or is there anybody else that we want to talk about? I saw something about Hayes in here. Hayes is hitting the ball hard, at least. And what I've seen from Hayes, he's healthy. And I think that's a good thing. So, so at least that's there. Outside of that, yeah, I don't really know. Not a whole lot. It's the first week of games, first full week of games. So I'm not, jumping out and saying much. So let's talk pitching though, because your favorite pitch seems to be somewhat of a highlight right now. And, we're talking changeup, Jake.
Yeah, love it. I love changeups, man. Like if you can disrupt a hitter's timing, you can be successful. Period. The best pitch in baseball is a well-placed fastball. Second best is a well-placed changeup. If you can disrupt that timing, man, that is the key to pitching. And there's so many different ways to throw changeups. There's so many different movements on changeups. Looks like, just from watching videos, I'd love to get in and like hear them talk about it a little bit more on what their changeup philosophy might be, or if they're all trying to use the same changeup, the grip's different, all that. But they all seem to have that good run arm side. So I think this is a way to battle the lefties. But
yeah,
I'm telling you, with some of the movement I've seen on some of these changeups, you can throw those inside to righties. Like, it's devastating for a right-handed hitter to get that slow changeup on the inner half and just obliterate it 450 feet, but it's in the upper deck in foul territory. And then you just come right at them with the fastball or whatever, and they're just done.
Or get it off the fist a little bit, right? And just pop it up to foul territory to the third baseman or something like that. So, I mean, if you're going to have that kind of run, you can get it in off the handle even then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're able to do a little more with that. But yeah, I mean, so two in particular, right? Paul Skenes also featuring changeup a little bit. We don't have data on that because he pitched in Sarasota. They don't have the StatCast and all that stuff there. But just hearing him talk, that cutter that he's throwing there, he was throwing some changeups. Paul Skenes adding a cutter and a two-seam. First off, let's talk about this two-seam, because a two-seam is often confused with what? The sinker. And then he has the splinker, which is also something that he calls a sinker, but it's a splitter sinker. But he's like, that's my sinker. But then he's throwing a two-seam, which is also called a sinker. StatCast can have no idea what to do with this guy.
Right.
They've got curve, slider, and sweeper with him. We don't. How do we know which one? Just based on break, like we don't know which one he's actually throwing. It is technically a mystery watching this guy pitch at this point. How many pitches is that now? 4-seam, cutter, 2-seam, slider, curve, sweeper, changeup. This is what this guy's working with right now. That's ridiculous. It's not fair. It's not fair to hitters, and it's not even fair for people who want to analyze what the heck he's doing. Because unless you ask him, you don't know. And even if you ask him, when he says sinker, which one's he talking about? We don't know. Good luck, MLB.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, his changeup he threw, I think when I looked it up, it was like, what was it? Like 100 times. Right? Oh, wait, I think I wrote it down.
I can't remember.
I think I wrote it down. 114 changeups last season, 5.4% of the time, and a .088 batting average against because he rarely threw it. If he picks that up, it's still going to be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got 3 different fastball shapes, and the cutter going off of the 2-seam looks exactly the same until it's on you. If he's going to have those pitches in his pocket, and he'll be able to know which is the good ones and which one he has to go to. We talked about that on here. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But now you got Mitch Keller trying to make a commitment a little bit to the changeup as well. We saw him throw it a ton to left-handed batters Friday. Essentially, let me pull this up real quick. Essentially, he threw 4-seam changeup against lefties, and that's it. Now, this is spring training, right? We're going to see a lot of changeups. They're going to be working on them. But he essentially just threw 4-seam changeup with a cut. He threw the rest of the pitches once. And then against righties, he's the 2-seam sinker, sweeper, slider, curveball. You know what I mean? All going to the righties. 10 changeups though Friday night, and it's just a big difference, right? You can tell they're clearly working on things.
Yeah.
Jared Jones was the last one. Jones featured it a lot today. Threw a ton of fastballs today, but oh shoot, I'm all over the place because we were looking at some things before, so I don't have that. Let me pull that up real quick.
I got it here.
You got it?
4-seam, he threw 18, 10 changeups, 9 sliders, 5 curve, 2 sinker.
See, I've got 19 4-seams and 9 changeups on mine, so maybe I need to refresh. I don't know. Maybe they changed one of them. Well, the other day they had Gorski hitting his 4th home run, and it was actually Connor Griffin.
I got the update on my phone. I was like, man, Gorski hit another one?
Yeah. No, he didn't.
Nope.
Yeah, you're right. 18 and 10. They had one of them. I refreshed the page, and it flipped to 18 and 10. It was 19 and 9 previously. That's really interesting. So they're still going back and updating it. But like, yeah, he's throwing the 4-seam still heavy a lot. Of course, I like Jared Jones's new post games are a lot of fun. I sucked for 3 hitters and then I got better. Like, okay. All right. That's cool. But yeah, the changeup for him obviously left the 1 up, and it's going to be location. And if he can get good, he had a couple that were just nasty. Right, just nasty. The swing against the lefty is breaking away, and it looked like there's absolutely no way. And so I really think going heavy on the changeup. Didn't you have a couple outings in college where you threw like 25 changeups and that's it?
Oh yeah, I didn't throw fastballs. I mixed my fastballs in. Yeah, I threw the most notable one was against Akron University. I threw 2 innings. I threw 20 pitches. I threw 18 changeups. And I too left one up to their 3-hole hitter who doubled off the wall.
Is that Burris? Was that when you were facing? Oh no, that was Kent.
That was
Emmanuel Burris.
No, he hit the ball right back up the middle so hard. It was that ball came at me faster than when I'm pitching in slow pitch softball. And he was standing on second to a ground ball to the center fielder.
He was fast.
He was fast.
He
hit
fast.
a ground. Really quick side story. He hit a ground ball to our second baseman and got a single.
Yeah.
No bobble. Fielded it, threw it to first, and he was safe.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You don't see much of that.
No. It's crazy.
So yeah, the changeup is definitely what the Pirates are working on right now. A very heavy dose of changeups from Jones and from Keller this week.
They look good, man. They look good.
They do. A lot of run, a lot of good movement, a lot of what you want to see. Got to nail that location down.
Yes.
Do you expect, I mean, obviously you're not going to have splits like this, right? I mean, he's throwing, at this point, I mean, Jared Jones, 41% fastballs and then 23 changeup. You're probably going to see more of that. I guess it just depends on what you're facing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he threw 9 of those changeups against lefties and 1 of them against righties. So if you have a righty-heavy lineup, you're not going to see that pitch much.
Right.
So
It's a when you have that my change, the one I threw didn't run a lot. It kind of just dropped straight down. So I could throw it against either hitter with no
mhm.
problem. Like didn't make a difference. But when you have the righty and it just comes right back into the barrel, that's when you run into the problems. That's why you don't throw it very often. But you can throw it for sure. If you can throw it inside to a lefty, but a right hander's up. So you throw it like a back door
Yeah.
for a righty, sometimes it can be effective. And if you drop it in there like he threw it once. I don't know if that's I don't know where that location was off the top. Like I'm just looking at numbers, not the chart.
Yeah, I can.
But I mean, if you can paint that outside corner with it, it's still a really good pitch. And you can get him out ahead of it. It's so hard to cover the outside if you're ahead of the
Right.
timing. So
It looks like his one changeup to a righty. Why does it show me that many? I picked righty. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not. I picked right-handed pitcher. So 2 changeups it's showing somehow. It's told me before there was only one. But they were inside, actually. A foul ball, like what you were saying, on a 3-2 count.
disrupt the timing. He probably came back with a fastball.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's because I'm looking at all pitchers. Okay, it was to Jahmai Jones, and it was just a foul ball. So he threw the changeup inside, but it was like belt high, like not where you want it.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
coming in on his hands. He got out ahead of it, like you were saying before. It was on a 2-2 count. I think he ended up getting him out, but yeah, it is kind of like that's not the location you want. You know what I mean?
Sure, but that's the one thing about running it inside. As long as it's inside, it's still very hard to hit that pitch fair. I don't care where it is. Very hard to hit that ball fair. But it kind of it almost like gets the hitter false confidence. And then you can just have his timing completely off and just demolish him with the next pitch.
Right. Here's a splits here against lefties. So obviously gets hit a little bit here with the Colt Keith hit. This is the 2 that he'd like to take back. Trey Sweeney got away with this one and got the out. This is the one that kind of tied him up a little bit. But this one here, obviously Colt Keith obliterated that. And then some of these other ones, like this one was hit pretty hard. Not a good location. This one's far enough outside. It was a ball, but it's far enough outside you can get away with that. But you want to stay away from this cluster. These here, these are good.
Yes.
And so, like, even this out here, the way that's moving, that's a swing and strike. Like, that's a chase right there. And that was the strikeout against Jace Young. So, like, that's the one that was like, that was nasty. You know what I mean? A 1-2 changeup, get him out there. That's a very good one. If you're listening to this in just the audio, we had the zone pulled up there showing those pitches, but so sorry if that was a little bit confusing for you guys. But yeah, I mean, this is what spring training is for, man. We're looking at these pitches and saying we're going to throw a lot of these, and if you get hit around a little bit, which he didn't, but if you get hit around a little bit, like that's fine. You gotta. You got to try this stuff somewhere, and this is the place to try it out. Him, Keller, and like I said, even Skenes going a little bit. Jones threw 125 changeups last season, 6.5%, so a little bit more, but batters hit 325 against it. Right? The curveball wasn't good. He did throw a curveball today. I don't think he expected to, but it was like a Henry Davis called it. And it ended up working for him. But the curveball got hit. He's just looking for something there. He went with the sinker this year. He added that. Last outing, we saw a lot of the sinker from Jared Jones. And he did also throw a nasty sinker, 2-seam sinker. Here we go again, right? I think technically, I think he's thrown a 2-seam.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's essentially the same pitch, depending whatever drops or runs more. But but he threw one and tied up. I can't remember who the hitter was, but tied him up and got the strikeout. And he didn't throw very many today. So that's still there. And he's now, if he can add that two seam and the changeup against lefties, it's going to be a big deal. Seeing Jared Jones being complete, you know what I'm saying? We talked before about, can he be a sustainable pitcher as good as he was with essentially two pitches, right? I mean, the changeup and curveball, neither one were really effective for him last year, and he threw them a lot against lefties, and that's why he ran into trouble. And so, I mean, it's there, man. These pitches can be a huge difference in what you've expected to see from Jared Jones. I'll tell you what, Jim Rosati's in the chat here. He's talking. He's in here, and he's going to know exactly what I'm talking about, because you know me. Who's my favorite pitcher in the Pirates system right now, not named Paul Skenes?
Harrington.
Thomas Harrington's my favorite pitcher, right? I'm not saying I think he's the best. I'm just saying that he is my favorite because of what he brings to the table. By the way, he not only taught Jared Jones his fastball grip last year, but now he's working with the curveball on Bubba Chandler and making Bubba Chandler just make everybody drool.
Make him our pitching coach.
Why don't we make Thomas? Well, because he's a good enough pitcher to actually go pitch. But I made a comment. I made a comment to Jim Rosati that I said, I think, and we all talk about, well, Harrington's a number 5. He's got a high floor, but that ceiling's really low. And I'm over here saying, I think the ceiling is a lot higher than we give him credit for. And that's fine. Everybody's got their guy, right? Harrington's my guy. I think before he's there, he's already figuring out, I don't have 97. I don't have 100. I have to set hitters up. He's learning to pitch before he is even at the point where you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more, and he understands a lot. Anyway, the stuff alone is what everybody says is not as good as these other. The stuff is really good, and I think it's a little underrated. And I told Jim while we were standing there at one of the games this week that I think you go to the end of the season, year in and year out, and I think his numbers will look very similar to Jared Jones. The reason I bring that up right now is if Jared Jones figures the two seam and the changeup out, I'd like to take that statement back, because Jared Jones's ceiling could get a lot higher.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, so Jim knows that I raise my eyebrows a little bit when I talk about Thomas Harrington. He knows I get excited. So
I love it.
But if Jared Jones can figure this out, yes, slider, that the Harrington slider is nasty, and his fastball is location, and he's got other stuff, right? I mean, he's helping Bubba Chandler with his curveball grip. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy, every year somebody breaks out, it seems. It's going to be every year. The last 2 years, somebody's going to break out by working with Thomas Harrington. Eventually, it's just going to be Thomas Harrington breaking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited for him, but also just to say, if Jones locks in the two seam and the changeup, it's over, man. I won't think that anymore. I'll still love Harrington, but Jones is he's gonna oh man, I had a video game term. He's gonna level up. There we go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're gonna talk a little bit differently about him and a little less worried.
Yeah.
So calling you out a little bit here, but also Jake's favorite pitch is the changeup. There's no question.
I love it. So I mean, the one that I threw is so unorthodox. Like, I don't expect a bunch of people. I try to get some people to throw it, and they can't really pick up on it. But I don't have big hands. I always thought it was easy to throw. But mine was more about deception than movement. But these pitches they're throwing are they're moving crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's
so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we're at time here. So if there was anything else you wanted to add, or if we were wrapping this thing up, but there you go. Moretta. Dude, the backward slider, though, is a freak pitch. I'm actually nervous that when he comes back, it's not going to be there. Like, something's going to change and it's not going to be there. And it's going to be, I don't know that if without the backward slider, I don't know what Moretta is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Hey, I mean, with this pitching development team, I'm sure he's going to figure something out. We're churning them right now.
Yeah. That's the thing. And we talked about it Thursday or Friday morning, I guess. We did a morning.
Yeah, we did a morning, yeah.
That's crazy. And Jim, I don't know how you and DiNardo get up that early to do Monday mornings. That's ridiculous. But anyway. Yeah. We talked about the pitching development right now is like, it's good. We can just, we don't have to pretend. We don't have to hope.
Right.
Like it's fantastic. I wonder, Jake, last thing I'll say here, and then we'll get out of here. I wonder the impact that Brent Strom has on the changeup, or if this is just natural. Every year they're going to work on a changeup. If it's good, they'll throw it. If it's not, they'll leave it alone.
I just want to hear them talk about it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's also right, Jim. You are sickos.
Yes.
But
yeah,
that's why we all listen. So, and watch. But yeah, exciting stuff right now coming from spring training. I know sometimes when you're going into a team, hey, good thing right now is that there's not a ton of positions that we're looking at. Right? Kind of a good thing. You've got guys that are kind of, solidified in their places. On the other side of things, you wish you had more. But so there's a little bit of, it's a different spring training. Not as many position battles. We're talking about first base, which is literally you get the job for a month. Hey,
yeah.
who wins a cup of coffee at first base? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of times what we're looking at here. But there's still a lot of things that look good right now. And I think the pitching department is kind of a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of it. So looking forward to seeing how that develops a little bit more. But the changeup, we didn't have a whole show, but the main topic was the changeup, Jake.
Yeah.
Probably only the second time we've been able to do that.
Yep.
All right. We appreciate you guys all the time being in the chat. Thanks for listening wherever you listen. If you're audio, if you're watching on YouTube, any of that things, we really appreciate you guys. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Helpful and keeping us on and throwing us off. Both. That's what this is all about.
Yes. Disrupt our timing.
That's right.
Change it up.
Let's go Bucs.
Let's go Bucs.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucs.